views and opinions expressed in this program are those of the participants and do not necessarily reflect the views of BronxNet or the program underwriters.
Hello and welcome to Open University from our BronxNet East studios, where we keep you in the loop on current discussions in and around the community. I'm your host, Hano Evangelista, and here's what we have on today's show. Primary season is in full swing, and the New Yorkers get the chance to head to the polls today. We will hear from the local students about which candidates they think is best for them. Plus, we will hear from the executive director of the New York City Board of Elections to find out what this election means to the presidential candidates as the big date nears. Then, we will sit with relationship specialist who has some tips for us. After that, former President Bill Clinton reminds Bronxites why they should vote for his wife. And later on, we will be joined by the executive director of a non-profit spoken word organization whose goal is to unite artists from different backgrounds. So sit back, don't touch that dial, because Open University starts now. Hello everyone, I'm your host Hano Evangelista, and welcome to Open University. We begin today's show with our coverage for the New York primaries with a twist. According to the New York Times, youth votes in 2016 presidential election is key. Let's take a look at what these college students have to say about the candidates.
I want to vote for Bernie Sanders because he's from CUNY and he likes New York, and I think he's going to do great things as a president.
Actually, the last elections I voted for the President Obama. Unfortunately, when you look at the kind of things that are happening, situations where I thought he needs to stand for America, he seems not to even care. And I see Donald Trump as the only guy that probably do that. For him, there's nothing in this for him. Basically, he's not for the money.
I'll be voting for Bernie Sanders because he's trying to fund schools and make college and education free.
I am a Donald Trump supporter. I believe Donald Trump tells it how it is. And I believe that his policies are not as extreme as other people in his party, such as Cruz and Kasich. I believe that Donald Trump is going to bring an end to the ruthless and extreme immigration that is coming into this country illegally.
Ideally, I would like to have the policies of Bernie Sanders implemented, but that's just not realistic. So I support Hillary Clinton since she seems like she could work more efficiently with Congress and get more things done in office.
Welcome back. We sat down with the executive director of the New York Board of Elections to give us a better understanding of the primaries and what it means to the candidates. Let's take a look. Welcome back. The 2016 presidential primaries kicked off in early February, and since then, we have seen significant changes from the number of candidates to those who support them. Here to discuss the primaries and what it means to our presidential candidates is the Executive Director of New York City Board of Elections, Michael Ryan. Welcome to our show.
Great to be here.
It's exciting that you are here this morning.
Well, thank you.
So, a little bit to begin with the interview. Tell us a little bit about what is exactly the primaries.
A primary election is an election that's held for a particular party to select their candidate.
Good. So this upcoming Tuesday, April 19, I have understanding that part of the primary is going to be taken. Is it only for Democrats and Republicans?
Yes, only the Democratic Party and the Republican Party in New York State are holding primary elections on April the 19th. And that's important to stress because we don't want people who are not in those parties to show up at the poll site thinking that they're going to be able to vote and then be turned away.
So after the Democrats and Republicans vote, what comes next?
What comes next is there'll be, someone will prevail on either party. They will be assigned a number of delegates proportionally based on the party rules, and the process will continue in the remaining states.
So how is it that the Republicans and Democrats, they formally nominees their presidential candidates?
Well, in New York State, the two parties do things a little bit differently. If you're a registered Republican, when you go in, you will see either Donald Trump, Ted Cruz, John Kasich, and Dr. Ben Carson is still on the ballot because he did not file the paperwork to come off quickly enough. Those four names will be on the ballot, and you'll make a selection. And the party apparatus itself will choose the individual delegates that will represent the party in the convention. The Democrats do it a little bit differently. You will see Hillary Clinton's name, and you will also see Bernie Sanders' name. In addition to their names, you will see the names of individuals who are pledged to be delegates for either Hillary Clinton or Bernie Sanders. So you'll select the candidate and the delegate if you're a Democrat, and if you're a Republican, only the candidate, and the party takes care of the delegate selection.
At this point, what does it mean to win or lose?
At this point, each candidate on both sides of the aisle are trying to amass as many delegates as they possibly can, so when they go into the convention, they are what you'll hear the term presumptive nominee. The presumptive nominee means the person has crossed that 51% threshold in the number of delegates, and now it's just a question of formality and protocol. What you're hearing about a little bit on the Republican side is the possibility that one or the other candidates will not reach that 51%, and that's what you're hearing as a brokered convention. If one candidate doesn't get to 51%, then the candidate selection will actually happen on the floor of the convention, which hasn't happened for quite some time in this country.
How many primaries is there held?
Each state and principality has their own candidate selection process. Some hold primaries, some hold caucuses, and caucuses are more like town hall meetings where people get together and they make the candidate selection that way.
How important is this primaries voting?
All elections are important. Let's keep in mind, and especially to the young people out there, that we take voting in this country for granted. But if we pick our heads up from our busy days and look at what goes on around the world, voting around the world is not such an easy process, and it's not such an all-inclusive process as it is in the United States. We need to take every election seriously. The presidential election gets a lot of attention, but I always want to tell people, your local elections very often mean more to your everyday life than the presidential election. Certainly we're happy when people get excited. We're electing a president, we should get excited. But I don't want the same people that are excited now to forget about voting next year and in the next several years when we're voting for local elections. That's going to determine whether or not you have proper police in your area, the fire department, whether the potholes are filled, is the street light working in front of your house. All of these things happen at the local level.
If we all participate, we could all make a difference in our country. But what advice do you give to those young adults or to anyone who doesn't think it's important to vote?
Well, I would say this. First of all, I get the pessimism. There's a lot of chatter out there, and there's a lot of sniping and backbiting. However, this process that we engage in, as far as I see, is the best governing process that has been invented by man. So you can absent yourself. You could say, well, I don't see the value in a college degree, so I'm not going to go to college. But that doesn't make any sense, right? You could say, I'm not going to put a Band-Aid and some medicine on my cut because my cut's going to heal anyway. But that doesn't make any sense. So to say, well, I'm not going to vote because government's going to go on anyway, doesn't make any sense either. So, young people especially are in the prime of their information absorbing years. And they should absorb as much information as they can and get out. We're setting up 1,202 poll sites throughout the city anyway. Whether anybody shows up or they don't, those poll sites are going to be open. So my suggestion to everyone strongly is show up, come to the party, you know, exercise your right to vote. You'll feel better about it. You'll participate in the process, and you'll make a difference. Not always so much individually, but certainly collectively.
So, for new voters, where can they obtain the information to register to vote?
Well, to register to vote, let's take a step back. The registration to vote in the April 19th primary is closed. If for a new voter, you had until March the 25th to get your registration to us, postmarked no later than March the 25th, and received by us on March the 30th. So you're not eligible to vote in the presidential primary. But don't despair. We have a federal primary election scheduled in June, on June the 28th. We have a regular primary for other offices scheduled for September the 13th. And then, of course, we have the general election coming up on November the 8th. So if you missed your bite at the apple for the presidential primary, don't worry. We have 3 more events this year. So you can go to our website, vote.nyc.ny.us, to get more information. You can visit any one of the local Board of Election offices in all 5 boroughs, and also our main office at 42 Broadway. Pick up a voter registration form, fill it out, and get it back to us, and we'll put you on the voter rolls. The other thing you can do is there is a downloadable PDF form that's on the State Board of Elections website, which you can download in the comfort of your own home. Fill it out, sign it, put it in an envelope, mail it back to us, and you're a registered voter.
Great. So
Provided
that's easy.
that you are 18 years old or over and a citizen of the United States.
That's the most important. And
Absolutely.
we can all make a difference, so there's no excuses. Because we
Correct.
have all the details and all the information that you brought us today to be able to vote.
Thank you
Well,
very much.
Thank you so much, Michael,
All
for
right.
coming to our studios
All
today.
right. Take care now.
Thank you. We have to take a quick break, but stay tuned. We'll be right back with more of Open University. Welcome back. Don't let the chilly breeze out there tell you otherwise. Spring is here, and what other way to enter the warm season than with some great relationship advice? We welcome relationship specialist Lisa Braitman to the show. Welcome to our show. How are you this morning?
I'm good. Thank you for having me.
You're welcome. So, you're a relationship specialist.
Yes.
And some of us have couples, some of us are married, me, like I'm engaged. So, we have some questions for you. What is your background and what is it that you do?
I'm in private practice in Manhattan. I'm a psychotherapist, and I work with individuals, often about relationships. I also work with the actual relationships. People come in together, and sometimes couples don't want to come in together. One person wants it more than the other. And if they're willing to work on the relationship, eventually they both do. I really just help them get to a better place. You meet, you have this wonderful instant attraction, dating is going wonderfully, and then 4, 5, 6 months down the road, things kind of start changing and you don't really know why. And I kind of help them, steer them into understanding themselves better so they can actually be in a relationship that they want to be in.
What are some advice that you give to new couples that are in a new relationship?
One real major piece is relationships shouldn't be that hard. If they're that hard, especially in the beginning, I think it's important to realize when this is not the right relationship. Yes, working on a relationship is excellent to do, and I think everybody should do it if they're both invested, but sometimes it's not the right person, so to put that time in just because the first 3 months were great, doesn't always make sense in the long run. And relationships are always about certain sort of compromises, but it's not about compromising yourself, your values, your morals, your integrity. Compromise means I'll go to a movie I don't really want to see because you want to see it.
So to maintain a relationship healthy, a lot of people say it's good communication, honesty. What other best way can you keep it healthy and keep it interesting?
Well, keeping it healthy is about letting somebody else really, really know you. Very often in relationships, people often become what they think their boyfriend or girlfriend, who they want them to be. So let's say a particular guy wants a girlfriend who's into sports because he's into sports, and the girl goes along with that. But she really doesn't like sports. And, that's going to come out pretty quickly.
Yeah.
Don't turn into someone else for someone else. It makes it interesting because somebody knows who you are, not who you think they need to be. Keeping it interesting is continuing conversation. Just because you've been together even 2-3 years doesn't mean you know them as well as you can. Make it interesting in the sense of don't get stuck in this is the couple, this is what we do. Being open just to a lot of different experiences together or apart.
Yeah, especially someone should like you for the person that who you are, not for the person that you're not.
Exactly, because you can't make a relationship work with who you aren't.
Yeah.
And there's always, one of the biggest pitfalls is people are always saying, well, this person is perfect except, then they have this list. But, there's, people always change in relationship to a certain degree. And that's normal and that's healthy and that's how we grow. But if there are more things about the person that are important to you that need to be changed, I think the partner needs to be changed as opposed to trying to change the partner.
Of course, because if your couple doesn't like something from you, the relationship is not going to work. Like me and my fiance, if I don't like something, I tell him. Then we both sit down, communicate, and then we see what we need to work on as a couple and as a person.
Well, then you're on the road. Well, you're in a good path because a lot of people are afraid to really reveal what they really want. They're afraid that it might be too much for the other person, so they hold back. And then after a certain point, they hold back so much, and there's a lot of anger and resentment. So it's really about when you're upset, even if it's a small thing, it will remain a small thing if you address it in the moment. But if you just let them add up, that's when resentment builds and a lot of the anger comes in. So you sound like you're going about it in a really great way.
Well, thank you. Let's talk a little bit about the open relationship. Is it a good idea or bad idea?
It depends. It's neither good nor bad. It's an individual choice. I think when you're younger, let's say college age, for example, you want to experience different people. You want to experience who you are with different people. So if you're a freshman and you meet somebody and you're with that person all through college and don't see anyone else, I think you limit yourself. But then again, over time, an open relationship makes a committed relationship feel difficult. There's sometimes people feel less special because it's much more casual. But the most important thing is that you're both in the same place. If one wants an open relationship and the other one doesn't, it will never work. But if you're both feel that on the same page, then it's fine. But it's about not going along with it because you want to stay with that person, hoping they'll change.
So what advice do you give to those couples or people who want that open relationship?
Just be honest about it from the beginning. Because sometimes people will be together for 6 months and they've kind of found the way it is and they really enjoy it and they don't want to let it go, but they also want to have other experiences. And so it's just about, if you're feeling that way, as difficult as it is to say that to somebody, better to say, this is what I think I need now, than to kind of start seeing other people or thinking about it or acting out or trying to do some having bad behavior, and then the other person's kind of like, well, I guess I'm going to break up with you because now you're doing this. It takes a lot of courage to be honest.
One last thing
Yes.
before we leave. What do you think about the breakups and makeups? Like when somebody needs a break from the relationship, what do you think about that?
I think if somebody needs a break from the relationship, they should break from the relationship because they're the only ones who know exactly what they need. As far as going back and forth, breakups, all of that, which is really, really painful emotionally. It's an emotional roller coaster. The only way it works when you get back together after a break is if something has changed. Because in order for it to work, something different has to happen. Otherwise, week 3 back in, the same problems still exist because they didn't get cleared up. They just got moved away from for a while.
Got it. Is there a specific page or email where the audience could contact you?
My website, which is www.lisabraidman.com, and my office is in Midtown Manhattan.
Great. Well, thank you, Lisa, for coming into our studios and giving us some great advice for the relationships.
My pleasure. Thank you.
Former President Bill Clinton came to the Bronx for a rally for his wife. BronxNet reporter Arlene Mukoko has the story.
Every time he speaks, the borough president talks about what she did as a senator to help the Bronx. And that's true throughout New York. I think it'll make a difference because once you take the oath of office, the time for blaming ends, the time for responsibility begins. You want people who can actually do it. They know they can trust her to actually make the best of any situation.
Former President Bill Clinton on Fordham Road off Morris Avenue, stumping for his wife, Democratic presidential candidate Hillary Rodham Clinton, sharing with the crowd why she's the one to vote for on Tuesday. He was joined by actress America Ferrera, who pointed to Hillary Clinton's strong record in the Latino community when it comes to health care and immigration. Organizers, including Bronx Democratic County Chairman Marcos Crespo, says unlike her rival Senator Bernie Sanders from Vermont, Clinton gets specific on addressing issues in need of change.
It's so easy to just say what's wrong, but you have to be able to say how you're going to fix things.
As both candidates have made the Bronx central when it comes to campaign stops, Bronx Borough President Ruben Diaz Jr., who is supporting Hillary Clinton's campaign, called it further evidence of a borough in the throes of a new chapter, thanks in large part to the support of Bill Clinton, who in 1997 hailed the South Bronx as a national model for renewing cities.
To have all these presidential candidates come and visit the Bronx and highlight positive things and have bipartisanship in the fact that our food and our restaurants is delicious. That goes a long way.
With critical issues on the table like gun reform, health care, and immigrations, leaders gathered agreed that Clinton is the one with the experience.
We have to make sure that we pressure candidates like this to recognize how important it is to invest these funds in public housing. So for all these issues, that's why it's important that they're all coming.
And as someone instrumental in guiding the debate over the future of Puerto Rico, Congressman Jose Serrano also pointed to her years as Secretary of State under the Obama administration before she served as a senator in New York.
She doesn't have to be taught how to speak to a foreign leader, to a foreign government. She already knows that. And I finalize with this. I don't know that the Clintons want to say this a lot, but you elect Hillary, you also get Bill. And that's not too bad, because that's a brilliant man.
Well, the campaign could not have picked a better surrogate. President Clinton here stumping for his wife and making a difference just days before the primary. For BronxNet, this is Arlene Mukoko.
Welcome back. Open Moment is a grassroots spoken word organization, and we're here right outside with this beautiful weather to welcome the missing Margarita Cruz. Hi, how are you?
How you doing? How you doing?
I'm fine. Thank you for coming.
Good, good.
So tell us a little bit about yourself. What is it that you do? What is Open Moment?
Well, I'm an educator, but Open Moments NYC is a grassroots organization that I'm working on, and it's something that we are deeply rooted in poetry and spoken word. Our mission is to provide the community with a lot of fun, active events that are free or really cheap, and it's usually in Harlem in the Bronx, and we have like this open mic called Soul House, which has a lot of different poets that come out and do a lot of things, and then we have things like Anti-Colonizer Day, which is on Christopher Columbus Day, and we like to talk about, culture and just the importance of culture and the importance of giving back to our community. So it's by poets for the community.
That is great. Yeah. So tell us a bit, what does inspire you in creating these poems?
As a poet, my best thing when it comes to poetry is being able to tell my story. I got into writing after a really tumultuous past when I was young, and as a child abuse survivor, I always sought to writing first. And when I got my voice, and because I started writing when I was 10, when I had my voice, I just started performing in a lot of places. College being one of the main places I did it. Yeah.
Great, that's good for you.
Yeah.
So tell us, what are you going to be performing for us today?
So I'm gonna do a compilation piece of myself at 10 years old, a poem I wrote when I was 10, a poem I wrote when I was 15, and a poem I wrote pretty much a few months ago.
Okay.
So I want to take you through a journey of my conscious when it comes to culture.
Well, good luck. I'm going to leave you on, and the stage is all yours.
All right, thank you.
You're welcome.
Margarita, 10 years old. Different people, different colors. Brown, yellow, black or white, does it truly matter? We sleep the same, we breathe alike. Everybody has a name. We really shouldn't fight because the world's people makes a delicious platter. Now that was 10-year-old me, but what happens when I become 15 is I start to enjoy history. And in history, I started to question, when will we free ourselves? When will we resist apathy? When will we end our state of mental bondage? We are descendants of several cultures as diverse as the rainforest. If only we would acknowledge this. We are blind, oblivious to the obvious. Move past the next man's face and dig deeper than his race, and there we find brotherhood, the core of triumph, pain, and suffering. Unclear of the destination, Dominican Republic, Haiti, Brazil, Cuba, West Indies, America, or whether you remained in Africa. We have been separated by language and maybe culture, but currently today we are unified through ignorance. I feel so sad. I wish there were an end to this. We are one and the same. We are blood, brothers and sisters. Embrace me. A few years passed and I turned 25. So that's a 10-year span. And I decided to update my thoughts and my views. My name is colonization. Every time I say it to others, they look at me with speculation. Margarita, like the drink? I used to embrace it, but now I face it as, you do know it's the Spanish name for Daisy. Call me crazy, but Spanish were the colonizers, and that's where my name lies. Margarita, like the drink mixed with tequila. My last name cultivated where the Spanish met the Aztec. Every time I Google Margarita Cuevas Cruz, it's either me or a Central American woman perceived to look more Spanish, Hispanic, or Latina than me. I speak my name and it's followed by, where are you from? Say something in Spanish, like I have to prove myself to people. I am too black for my own community, then too Spanish for my black counterpart. My name is guilty of systematic violence and military rape and the marginalization of culture. You can find my name in La Isla del Encanto, somewhere over a salsa rhythm. But I was named by Quisqueya with merengue tropical y una bachata encendida. My name is also found in my neighboring country, perceived as enemies, but they hold my name too, and it's discreet, it's Marguerite. My name is the Pearl of the Caribbean, Isla de Margarita, another one of Christopher Columbus's findings. My name was stamped where the Waikeri people called home, where the Taínos sought living, where their names and language ceased to exist. My name is colonization, and that should never come as a surprise. My name was the source of somebody else's demise. Thank you.
Thank you, Margarita. That
you.
was great.
Thank
so
you.
where can the public contact you to?
Well, on Instagram, Facebook, Open Moments NYC. Follow us. We have amazing events. We have Guess Who's Coming to Brunch on June 18th. It's a Saturday at Host Hills Community College. Man, that's going to be an amazing event. It's like 8 poets talking about guns, power, and violence, you know, and just how us as a community could come together to make sure legislation changes.
So we look forward into that. Thank you so much for coming in.
Thank you.
Well, guys, I just want to remind you all, don't forget to vote because we all can make a change and go outside. The weather is beautiful. Have a good one.